إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from you your sacrifice during those blessed days of Eid al-Adha. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to return those who fulfill the great obligation of Hajj. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from them. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to return them to their family safe and sound. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those of us who have not done Hajj to give us the ability to do Hajj, this great sha'ira of Islam, and make that facilitate for us that in the soonest possible way. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the great things about us as Muslims is our brotherhood and sisterhood, that we care about each other, truly care about each other, and we want good for each other. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this pillar, which is called the Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar, to enjoy good and to forbid evil as part of this religion. Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar is part of this religion of ours. That we care about each other enough that when we see something wrong within our society, within ourselves, within our brotherhood, in the family, that we don't stay silent. We speak up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That be part of you, this ummah, a group that calls for good. وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And enjoy good and forbid evil. And this concept is a very Islamic concept. And I tell you why sometimes in the West, for Muslims who live in the West, or for Western people, this concept kind of conflicts with their individuality. And to live and let others live. But I just want to first to tell you that this is part of our deen. And I'm going to use some of the verses of the Quran to emphasize that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered us to do. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, مُرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Order people to do good and order people to stop doing evil things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ الرَّسُولَ النَّبِيَّ الْأُمِّيِّ الَّذِينَ يَجِدُونَهُ مَكْتُوبًا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر. Our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to him that the Prophet who is illiterate, that they find in their books, the Torah and the Injil, what does he do? The Prophet, he enjoys good and forbid evil. And in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that this is how we protect each other. This is how we show love towards each other. This is how we make sure that we both, inshallah, in the right path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, the believing men and the believing women, بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ, they are the protectors of one another. How? Then Allah says, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They enjoy good and they forbid evil. And why do we Muslims believe that so strongly? Because we believe we have the truth. We are the only ummah almost on this universe, on this earth, that we believe this Quran is the absolute truth from Allah. We don't believe a single word in here is in the wrong place, not a dot. Not a single concept that came from Allah that is not good.
or not valid. Not a single command from the Prophet ﷺ that is not suitable for our current life and current affairs. We are the only ummah that truly believe that the reference to the truth is what Allah and His Messenger said. So no wonder that we are the only ummah that will always enjoy good and forbid evil. My dear brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ said the first punishment of the Jewish people was when a man would see a man doing something wrong, and then he will tell him to stop doing this evil thing. And later on that day, he will see him, he will sit with him, he will enjoy talking to him, he'll have lunch and dinner with him, as if nothing happened. When sin becomes so normal. And this is something that we see now. How many times we are in a gathering and Salah comes and certain people don't get up to pray. Maybe people who are part of our family. Salah comes and Salah goes and nothing happens. And this is part of our deen, my brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Protect yourself and your family from a hellfire. How do we protect them? By letting them know that if they're doing good, we encourage that. We say, may Allah reward you. That Allah loves you for doing this righteous thing. Allah loves you for getting up in the morning to pray your Fajr Salah. That this matters to you. That you know that Fajr, the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, is better than this dunya, this earth and what's on it. May Allah reward you for this. And we tell them if they miss al-Asr, that this is a grave sin to purposely miss Asr. In fact, I don't like to say the harsh thing, not harsh, they're true. But some scholars, my dear brothers and sisters, went to the level of saying who purposely misses Salah. Purposely ignores, doesn't want to pray, not out of ignorance, out of arrogance. Some of big scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah say that, no, we're a Muslim. I know this surprises you. But the Salah is the imad of this deen, the pillar of this deen. And the Prophet ﷺ says in his hadith Sahih, in Sahih al-Bukhari, al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah, the covenant, what separates us between us and them, meaning the non-believer. What is it? The Salah. فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. Who leaves it purposely, he committed an act of kufr. Of course, some scholars say again, this is kufr duna kufr, meaning that doesn't take them out of the millah, but there's a huge dispute. So al-amr bil ma'ruf, my dear brothers and sisters, to enjoy good and forbid evil is not judgmental. You're not being judgmental when you tell your people that you care for that this is haram, that this shouldn't be. And of course there's a method and there's a way to do this. If you love somebody, truly love them, make your intention to guide them, not to expose them. First of all, we should concern ourselves with ourselves, who we are. If we're doing something wrong, we should fix that first. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do you tell people to do good and you forget yourself? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us. And He tells us, كَبُرُ مَقْتًا أَن تَقُولُوا مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. It's so much hated to say that what you don't do. You tell people don't do this and then you do it yourself. So first of all, let's make sure that we are guarded against these things. Now, don't make shaitan stop you from enjoying good and forbidding evil because you do some sins. We all do sins. We all do sins. كل بني آدم, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, all the sons of Adam are khata'in. And if we waited for the angels to come and give us, amr bil ma'ruf, it will be a long day. We all do sins, but I'm just saying, if you're doing some major sins and telling people to do some major things like salah, make sure that you establish that for yourself. it's more impactful. You still do it, you know, but it would be more impactful for yourself to look internally first. Secondly, you start with the family, my dear brothers and sisters. Our family, we must make them love this deen. And that doesn't mean to be harsh. A lot of Muslims, may Allah guide all of us, once they know something, they want to implement it today. I learned hijab is obligatory. I'm going to tell my family to put hijab. I'm going to go after my daughter to put hijab. You know, this takes time, my brothers and sisters. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Then he says what? وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. You tell each other about the truth, but you have to be patient. It takes time. And start with what is important. There's nothing more important in your life, in your children's life, in your spouse's life, than the salah. Does your wife, does your husband get up to pray Fajr? Be honest with yourself. This is what's important, because if your salah is good, then the rest of your deeds are going to be good. This is not what I say. This is what the Prophet ﷺ told us. أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. The first thing Allah will ask you in the day of judgment is your salah. فإذا حسنت, if it's good, then the rest of your deeds are good. Ask yourself about your family and make it a loving message to them. Don't threaten them that the adhab, of course there's adhab, but tell them that Allah is loving. Allah gives us shelter and health. Allah gave you wealth. Allah loves you. Don't you want something from Allah? Don't you know that you are the closest to Allah when you are in sujood? Don't you want to have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you? Make them love Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. That's what He told us to say. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي. What did He say? فَإِنِّي قَرِيب. I'm close. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine the Allah, the creator of this universe. You raise your hand, you don't even have to speak. And He listens to you. He knows what's in your heart. He will answer your supplication. No doubt. If you are sincere, know this. Allah is merciful. So make your da'wah to them. And make sure that they understand that this matters. To establish the salah. To establish the rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To dress appropriately. To not backbite. Not to lie. That Allah hates these things. This is what amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. My dear brothers and sisters, this is something that needs patience, but it also needs, as I said, wisdom in how we practice its implementation. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم بالعالمين إنك حميد مجيد. Part of Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf, to enjoy good and to forbid evil, to let others know that you are not satisfied with when you see haram. Aisha radiallahu anha describing the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Ma kana," he will never, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, get angry for himself. Meaning if you do anything against him, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to forgive. And we all know the story of the man who grabbed the Prophet from his shirt and pulled him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam until the neck of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam became red, and told him, "Give me. It's not the money for your father and mother." Imagine the rudeness. But yet the Prophet ﷺ was smiling. And he gave him so much wealth. He gave him a value of sheep. Just to give you approximation, a man would work the whole day for 4 pieces of timber. He gave him a whole value of sheep. And he told him, take it. He did, because the Prophet ﷺ wanted to make his heart lean, accepted this deen. And sure enough, this man was the leader of his people. And he took that sheep and he went to his people and he said, آمنوا فإن محمدا يعطي من لا يخشى فقر. Oh, my people, believe. Muhammad is giving like a man who does not fear poverty. But when the Prophet ﷺ sees something haram being done, that's when his face turns. That's when he becomes angry. Because this crossed the line of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should have the same attitude about when we get angry. Let's not get angry because the food is a bit cold, or the dishes are not made, or the shirt is not ironed to our liking. Let's not get angry when the kids are not memorizing the Quran, or they miss the salah, and there's no Islamic school. The masjid needs help. Let's get our, we have to have that thinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered a whole village to be destroyed. So the angels came to him. And he said, but there's a man there who's a believer. He said, start with him. Why? Because his face, he never showed anger when he saw people committing sins against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make people know that this matters to you. That you are a Muslim, and when you interact with people who are Muslims like you, these things matter to you. Of course, don't push people away, but let them know that Salah is important in the nicest way. And what the scholars say about giving nasiha to others, make it in private, make it in a way that impacts them, in a way that shows them that you love them. You're not trying to expose them again, because you want them to win. You want them to go to heaven, because you know that adab Allah, that the punishment of Allah is severe. That you know that Jahannam, not even a second we can stand 1 second in Jahannam. You want them to win. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ فَقَدْ فَازَ. Whoever pushed away from the nar, from hellfire, and allowed into Jannah, those are the winners. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. And because we are of that caliber, we want those people to win. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us the truth as the truth, and give us the ability to follow it, and to show us falsehood as falsehood, and give us the ability to stay away from it. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. واذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.